For 50 years, governments around the world placed their most guarded secrets inside machines they believed were impossible to crack. War plans, back-channel negotiations, private communications between presidents and generals. 120 countries built their national security around a single assumption: that a neutral Swiss corporation could be trusted to protect their most important secrets. They were wrong, because those machines weren't just encryption devices, they were intelligence weapons. Every message sent through them, every classified order, every covert negotiation was quietly flowing to analysts in Washington, not through hacking, not through espionage, through ownership. The CIA didn't break the world's encryption, they owned the company that built it. And for half a century, the entire world kept talking, believing their secrets were safe. This is the story of Operation Rubicon, the most devastating intelligence deception of the Cold War, and what the CIA itself called the intelligence coup of the century. A deception so vast, so audacious, that it redefined what espionage could achieve in the modern age. The secret held for half a century. Then, in February 2020, investigative journalists revealed that a small Swiss company called Crypto A.G. had been a front for Western intelligence since 1970. Every encryption machine it sold, every coded message those machines produced, could be read in real time by analysts in Washington and, for decades, in Bonn. The scale was staggering. Iran, Argentina, Libya, Saudi Arabia, even the Vatican. Over 120 governments had purchased Crypto A.G. equipment, believing Swiss neutrality guaranteed their security. Instead, they had invited their adversaries directly into their most classified communications. To understand how this happened, you have to go back to the earliest days of the Cold War, when code-breaking was still the province of mathematicians working in secret government facilities. Boris Hagelin was a Swedish inventor who had made his fortune selling portable cipher machines to the United States during World War II. His company, which would become Crypto A.G., relocated to Switzerland and quickly established itself as the premier supplier of encryption equipment to governments worldwide. Swiss neutrality was the perfect cover. No nation suspected that a company based in Zurich might be compromised by any intelligence service. The CIA and the National Security Agency had been watching Hagelin's company with intense interest since the late 1940s. They recognized that whoever controlled commercial encryption controlled the flow of secrets across the globe. In 1952, a secret agreement was reached. Hagelin would modify his machines for American and British use, ensuring they remained secure while subtly weakening the versions sold to other nations. But the arrangement was informal, dependent on one man's cooperation. By the mid-1960s, American intelligence wanted something more permanent. In 1970, the CIA and the West German Intelligence Service, the BND, executed one of the most audacious purchases in espionage history. They bought Crypto A.G. outright for $5.75 million. The transaction was buried under layers of shell companies and Liechtenstein trusts. Not even most Crypto A.G. employees knew who truly owned the company. The Swiss government, despite its vaunted neutrality, either failed to notice or chose not to look too closely. The operation received the codename Thesaurus initially, later changed to Rubicon. The name proved prophetic. Like Caesar crossing his river, there would be no going back. From their new position inside Crypto A.G., CIA and BND engineers went to work. They designed encryption algorithms that appeared secure but contained hidden vulnerabilities. To any outside analyst, the machines produced properly encrypted traffic. But analysts in Washington and Pullach possessed the mathematical keys to unlock everything. The customers never suspected. They continued purchasing updated equipment, each generation containing the same carefully concealed weaknesses. The intelligence harvest was immediate and overwhelming. When Iranian revolutionaries seized the American embassy in Tehran in November 1979, the world watched 52 hostages endure 444 days of captivity. What the world did not see was the CIA reading Iranian government communications in real time. Every diplomatic cable, every military order, every internal debate within the revolutionary government flowed through Crypto A.G machines and directly onto desks at Langley. American negotiators knew Iran's positions before Iranian negotiators did. When Argentina invaded the Falkland Islands in April 1982, the British government faced a military crisis 8,000 miles from home. The intelligence flowing through Operation RUBICON proved decisive. Argentine military communications, encrypted on Crypto A.G equipment, were being read by the NSA and shared with British allies. London knew the disposition of Argentine forces, their supply situations, their command decisions. The 30,000-ton cruiser General Belgrano was tracked and sunk based partly on signals intelligence derived from compromised encryption. Throughout the 1970s and 80s, Latin America convulsed with military coups, death squads, and disappearances. The juntas that ruled Argentina, Chile, and other nations coordinated their repression through Operation Condor, a multinational campaign of political assassination that claimed tens of thousands of lives. Many of these governments used Crypto A.G equipment for their most sensitive communications. This is where Operation Rubicon crossed from intelligence triumph into ethical nightmare. American analysts could read the traffic. They knew when dissidents were being targeted. They watched as military governments planned kidnappings, torture sessions, and murders. The intelligence was pristine, detailed, and deeply incriminating. And Washington, by and large, said nothing. The calculus was coldly strategic. Revealing the source would destroy the operation. Protecting the source meant protecting the ability to read 120 governments simultaneously. Against that institutional imperative, individual lives barely registered. The analysts filed their reports, the policymakers made their calculations, and the death squads continued their work, their communications flowing through machines designed to betray them, while those reading the traffic chose silence. The moral weight of this choice has never been fully reckoned. How many lives might have been saved by a single warning? How many disappearances could have been prevented if Washington had chosen exposure over access? These questions have no comfortable answers, only the historical record of what was known and what was permitted to happen. The West Germans grew increasingly uncomfortable with these implications. The BND had been equal partners in Operation Rubicon since 1970, sharing both the intelligence take and the operational costs. But German officials began questioning whether the benefits justified the moral compromises. In 1993, following reunification and a general reassessment of Cold War operations, the BND sold its stake in Crypto A.G back to the CIA for approximately $51 million. The Americans were now sole proprietors of the world's most successful espionage operation. The company continued operating for another 25 years. Throughout the 1990s and 2000s, Crypto A.G evolved with the technology. The mechanical cipher machines of the Cold War gave way to electronic encryption systems. The fundamental principle remained unchanged. The machines looked secure, the algorithms appeared sound, and the hidden weaknesses continued feeding intelligence to Washington. The operation finally wound down in 2018 when Crypto A.G was quietly liquidated, its assets sold off to two newly created companies. By then, the world had changed. Commercial encryption had become ubiquitous. Governments increasingly relied on systems not controlled by any single vendor. The window that Operation Rubicon had exploited for half a century was finally closing. But the questions it raised have not been answered. If the CIA could own a Swiss encryption company for 50 years without detection, what else might be compromised? The technology world has never fully recovered from this revelation. Every commercial encryption system now operates under a shadow of suspicion. Every vendor's assurances of security carry an asterisk. The trust that once allowed global communications infrastructure to develop has been fundamentally damaged. The intelligence community argues that Rubicon prevented wars, exposed terrorist plots, and saved American lives. The historical record supports some of these claims. The operation provided crucial intelligence during the 1986 Berlin disco bombing, helping establish Libyan responsibility. It monitored nuclear proliferation efforts. It tracked arms shipments and diplomatic double-dealing across the globe. But the operation also enabled atrocities. It prioritized access over accountability. It treated the communications of allied democracies with the same suspicion as hostile dictatorships. And it demonstrated that no institution, however neutral its appearance, can be trusted absolutely in the shadow world of intelligence. The Swiss government launched an investigation following the 2020 revelations. The findings were damning. Swiss intelligence had known about foreign involvement in Crypto A.G. since at least 1993 and had done nothing. The company had operated under Swiss jurisdiction for decades while systematically compromising Swiss neutrality. Several former Crypto A.G. employees reported suspicions they had raised internally, only to be ignored or silenced. For the CIA, Operation Rubicon represents the pinnacle of technical intelligence collection. For 50 years, they owned the means by which much of the world protected its secrets. No human source, however well placed, could match the volume and reliability of that take. No satellite, however sophisticated, could peer inside encrypted communications the way Rubicon did. The operation has ended. But the precedent it established continues to shape how nations think about security in the digital age. If your encryption can be compromised at the source, no amount of operational security will save you. If your vendor can be purchased, your secrets are already sold. The full story of what replaced Operation Rubicon remains classified. The CIA has not suddenly abandoned its interest in global communications. The NSA continues to employ thousands of mathematicians and computer scientists whose work never sees public scrutiny. Somewhere, in ways we cannot yet document, the successors to Rubicon are likely already operational. For 50 years, 120 countries trusted machines to protect their secrets. Those machines were tools of the very adversaries they feared most. It was the intelligence coup of the century. And we only learned about it because someone, finally, decided the secret had been kept long enough.